Okay, so the most important upstream data is the senses. So the senses are what the brain used to learn all about the environment, safety, probability of survival, remember prediction response. Okay, so the sensory system goes to work to do that. Every one of the senses brings a vital piece of information into the brain. And you think about it, on BodyMAP 2 last weekend, we were talking about kind of like the brain's GPS, if you will. You guys know how the GPS in your car works, hopefully. Okay, GPSs work by this concept of triangulation. Okay, there's one satellite up in space, there's another satellite up in space, and the more satellites we've got available to us, the better our signal becomes, right? And then there's us driving along in our car. Oh. That's what UK cars look like. That's us driving along in our car, right? And as the GPS comes online, we get the first signal that crosses. So we know that we are somewhere on that line, right? We don't know exactly where we are on that line until the second GPS comes in and bisects the first one, and it says, okay, so on the map, here's where you are. Make sense? We need two sources of information to get a good GPS picture, so that we know that we need to take the next turn off on the I-5. That's how it knows where we are, right? The more satellites that are online at any one time, the more accurate the picture becomes. This is a really good analogy for what's occurring in the human brain, right? So our senses serve as the GPS kind of planning and plotting information, right? What we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we touch, what our balance systems are doing, right? How we're currently breathing at any moment in time, what we're breathing, what the kind of the air density, everything all comes into this picture and says, because of what I know through my senses, I know that you are currently in this position relative to your body. I know how much stress the body's under. I know if you're safe. I can create predictions. I can create responses because of the sensory systems. Okay? So sensory systems come together to create this environmental picture. Hey, where are you? I'm here. Right? Because it knows where it is. It says, thanks very much for telling me where I am. I now feel safe. As we start to affect the senses, like if my respiration pattern isn't as good as it should be, that's one satellite comes off the grid. Right? So okay, my breathing isn't really the way it's supposed to be in order to facilitate best oxygenation and best survival predictability. And in fact, the way I'm breathing right now this second is the same kind of breathing pattern that I often use to let myself know that I'm in danger. Right? Upper respiratory tract breathing. Right? So if I'm breathing from my neck and my chest is moving, and every time I breathe in, my waist gets smaller. Right? I'm essentially in emergency breathing. Right? I'm in threat breathing at the moment. It's how a lot of people breathe all the time. Shortly, we're going to talk about the concept of things being fired and wired together, right? But people are essentially telling their system via their breathing pathway, okay, there's some form of threat here. That's the first satellite that's kind of gone off the grid. It's giving a really fuzzy picture. Now, because we spend all our time looking at computer screens just here, and we essentially, most of us, we live in a box, right? So the box, we literally watch the box in the mornings before we kind of go to work. We sit in our little boxes to drive to work. We sit in our little boxes of cubicles at work generally. Okay, sit back in the box to come home, go home and watch the box, right? So we've got a limited visual field. We don't generally tend to do very much at a distance with our eyes, and we don't very much tend to use our peripheral vision. Everything's kind of here. So we change our visual field. Okay, and as we change our visual fields, we are essentially dropping the visual GPS, the visual satellite off the map as well. Okay, you all stand up for me. show you the way something. Stand with your feet together. Give yourself some space so you can rotate left and right. Okay, hold your fingertips together and so your thumbs are pretty much nose height or eye height, right? I want to rotate as far as you can left and right and pay attention to how far you get, like use a wall marker or something to let you know how far you get, right? There you go. Now come back to the center. Right, just put your right hand down, just keep your left hand up. Start wiggling your thumb. Okay, like pick a point ahead of you, so don't look at your thumb, just wiggle your thumb. Pick a point directly ahead of you and start to wiggle your thumb and take it out as far as you can until you no longer see the movement in your thumb. In other words, you've come to the limits of your peripheral vision. Okay? When you get to the limit of your peripheral vision, turn your head, look at your thumb, okay, just reach out and kind of stroke your arm very lightly. Look at your thumb again. Turn your head back to the front. See if you've increased your peripheral vision at all. So see if you can get any extra range. Keep wiggling until it disappears. Okay, turn and look. Look forward again. Wiggle again. See if you can move it any further before it disappears. Right. Now put your hands back up in front of you. Rotate left and right and tell me what happens. Most of you get more? Yeah. Did any of you get less? Right. Right, so did you all get more? Take a seat. So we stretched nothing. And we strengthened nothing. We did no training. Right? But now your visual GPS, right, your visual satellites just said, hey, I've got this new increased peripheral vision. Because I have increased peripheral vision, I'm now going to let you use more of your body. I'm going to let you produce more force and move faster and have more freedom. Okay? Because the satellite system has come back online. Does that make sense? It's weird stuff, right? Kind of, like if you think about all those clients who seem to have spinal restrictions and seem to not be able to open up very much, and now suddenly we just go do that for like 20 seconds and 8 weeks of rotation-based work has just been brought back online. Every single part of the sensory system has its input like that. Every single one. And the interesting thing about BodyMAP is that we never know which is going to be the one. Like, so some people do these drills and they go, that didn't really do anything for me. I didn't really improve very much, right? But then I'll do the next drill with them and they'll go, that was the baby. That was the one that really put me back on the map. So it's not a case of the drills themselves don't work, and it's not a case of the tests are wrong or any of those things. It's more a case of, do you know what? That isn't your restriction. That isn't your deficit. For you, the peripheral field is absolutely okay, which is why you're not responding to any peripheral field work. But for somebody, like for some people, for example, looking, who said, was it you that said you had a hamstring? Come up for a second. Show me what your restriction is. Okay. Stand up. Did you all see that? What the range was, right? So, right. Get this pen. Okay. Look at the pen as you lean forward in it, and you work on touching your toes. Keep looking at the pen.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay. Right, it's nuts, right? So you don't have a hamstring issue, right? You are limited in your hamstring because of your visual field, right? What?
I can't handle anymore.
I'm leaving now. Right, whether it makes sense to you like on an intellectual level just yet, but does the concept of this make sense? Like as in, we're not restricted, like you can go down, these hamstrings are a bitch, I've got to stretch them every day, they're just not responding, right? They're not responding because they don't want to respond. In fact, what your brain is saying is, if you keep tugging on this, you'll put me at extra risk. Okay, I don't need any tugging on this. What I need is for you to do something with your visual field, and as soon as you do, well, there you go, you can have it back, right?
So what would be like a practical application of that then? Are we supposed to
I'll never tell you, you have to pay me 10 grand in private coaching.
We're going to get there?
Yeah. Okay. So,
I would hope so.
But it's weird stuff, right? It's definitely kind of really, really weird stuff. But it just, like, excuse the pun, it literally makes sense, right? The brain, all the brain is trying to say at any given moment in time is, if you can persuade me that I'm safe, I'll let you have everything that the body is supposed to be able to do. I'll let you do it all, right? And the reason you can't do it is because the brain is saying, I don't feel safe. I just simply don't feel safe. I don't have a prediction about my environment right this second. Because I don't have a prediction about it, you can't have the functional impact of it, right? And it takes it back to the degree that it feels unsafe. Seem to be getting some people's attention now. This might be good stuff. Right, so the less accurate the map, like every single one of those sensors that come off, every single sensory satellite system that comes offline is another form of restriction. Okay? And that restriction may be pain, might be weakness, it might be that they get there's kind of less range of motion, less speed, less reaction time. Well, essentially, all of it is designed to slow you down in your environment. Right, so one of the things that my brain's going to try and do is slow me down, so I can't walk as fast, I can't move as fast. Another thing it's going to do is weaken me, so that, okay, well, you're not paying attention to the alarms as they're going off. That being the case, I don't want you with big heavy shit on your back and carrying big heavy things around. Right? I don't want you doing that. That increases the risk for me. And because you're not doing anything to make me more certain of my future, I'm not going to let you do anything that harms me in the short term. This is why people get stuck up strength plateaus for months and months and sometimes years. Like, it doesn't matter, you're doing all the other ancillary exercises that all the power lifters and the strength coaches will tell you to do. You go like, kind of do more of this and you'll get stronger there. Like, nope, not working for me. Because the brain doesn't care what you want intellectually, right? The brain isn't going, oh, yeah, great, I understand you've set a goal of wanting to hit PB this month, and I'll help you do that. The brain simply keeps coming back to that question, what does the map say? 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 Right? If you're doing nothing to bring things back onto the map, it doesn't matter. The brain doesn't care. It doesn't care about your intellectual endeavors, right? So you think, I mean, if you really think about it, a weaker map is about a weaker chance of survival in a bigger picture. And forget that we now no longer live with saber-toothed tigers and all that kind of shit, right? But forget all that. At the end of the day, your brain is still treating its environment as hostile. Because essentially it is. Like, you could trip over a kettlebell because of poor vision. You could trip over in the street over a curb because of poor spatial awareness. Right? Any of these things could happen. And in some respects, a modern environment is actually far more dangerous than an old-time outdoors environment ever was. Right? Then we had to deal with things like the cold and sometimes predators and stuff. But again, human beings have been at the top of the evolutionary tree for a long time, right? But generally, if you fell over, you probably weren't going to hurt yourself too bad. You'd fall over on mud and grass. If you fall over out there now, you're going to smash your skull off. Right? Whether you're thinking these thoughts or not, your brain knows it. The brain is judging the environment. So a vestibular system deficit, your brain says, whoa, you've got a vestibular deficit. We'll talk about vestibular system later, but that's your balance system. Any insult to the balance system is putting you at increased risk of death. Right? Literally increased risk of death. You fall over on a concrete pavement and smash your head on the pavement, you probably couldn't die. I mean, obviously there's a tie-in here alongside of the physical, like sensory system threats here. There's also the secondary psychoemotive threat. So you could be under huge emotional threat right now and see these same restrictions, right? And that kind of makes sense, right? Because if I'm under huge emotional threat, I'm not in my prefrontal cortex, right? If I'm not in my prefrontal cortex, I'm not paying a lot of attention and giving a lot of awareness to my current environment. My head is somewhere. I'm still back with the argument that I had with my partner today or whatever. Right? I'm not really here, which means my sensory system gets downgraded. So it can even be a case of, like, you can be moving poorly because there's a lot of other psychoemotive shit in your life, right? And when you feel happier, you move better, right? And when you're feeling less happy, you move more poorly, you get more restriction, you get more pain. So there's a lot of very interesting kind of crossovers between each of the maps. Essentially, if you want kids to move better, we've also got to stop telling kids to be careful in various situations, right? Kind of a lot of parents are like really good at that. Like, don't climb that tree. Be careful, you might fall. Don't walk on that wall. Be careful, you might fall, right? Well, if you're essentially injecting a threat into a child's mind before they've even experienced it themselves, sometimes you have to let your kids fall over. Like those of us who are a little bit older, I mean, we probably come from a generation where you kind of played outdoors a lot more, right? You climbed more and you got into all kinds of shit trouble and all kinds of stuff, right? But you played outside a lot more, you took a lot more risks, but often in taking the risks, you're essentially teaching your brain and your body just how far you could push it. And that one time when you jumped off the 15-foot wall and you landed on both your ankles, killing you for days, that kind of said, okay, that's probably a bit too high for me to jump. But that's sensory information that's gone into the brain. Now, you know what, you are okay jumping off the 10-foot wall, don't do the 15 one anymore, that's just too much for your body composition right now. Prediction response, it built in. So now you essentially get a natural fear of jumping off the 15-foot wall, which you should have because you injured yourself. It makes sense. But there are a lot of people who are fearful of things that they haven't even tried yet or haven't even done because of stories that their parents are giving them, right? Or stories that like teachers and society in general making things too safe. That we can extend this out and also even go into the whole social aspect of sanitizing hands every 30 seconds and all that. It's a very fear-based mindset. Like every single thing you're going to touch is dangerous to you. Many of your clients with back pain, they tell themselves stories about what they can and can't do around it, right? And it makes sense. Like if you go back to my slip disc analogy earlier, someone's got that picture in their mind, whoa, my disc is like this, and just one more faulty movement can have the damn thing pop and slip out completely. That's the story they're telling themselves. Well, of course, their prediction is a negative prediction. If I do that, that happens. And we all have those in advance as well. We all have these prediction-based stories that are actually negative, but they're based on nothing. Or they're based on a one-off experience where if we were to really sit back and analyze what we did, you could have broken it down and create predictions and responses, right? But at the time, you weren't paying attention. You were a kid and you fell off something and that was that. Right? But it doesn't stop you from using that as the baseline data for what is possible with your arm, right? So, and we see that in a lot of adults actually. They're carrying limitation-based stories that simply aren't true, because you can, like very often, even if it just comes to using a distraction technique, sometimes they use a distraction technique. We talk about something else while we're doing something normally creates threat in them. We're talking about this, and they're paying attention to that hand, but while I'm moving out their other so-called restricted shoulder. And I say, hey, look over at your right shoulder, and then look and they go, that's impossible, it can't be there. Like, no, actually it is, right? It's only because you weren't using the fear pathways to keep it restricted. All right. So yeah, I mean, essentially, that one there was actually a really good demonstration with the hamstring, because that was a huge amount, right? Like absolutely huge. Threat has always got to activate the internal messaging system to tell your body if it wants to do stuff or not. Okay? Really don't want to do that, but not usually for the reasons you think. Because look, if that were a mechanical issue, like if you had tight hamstrings, all the manipulating your eyes and wiggling stuff in front of your face in the world would change nothing, right? It's like, it doesn't matter. My hamstrings are this long, and you're trying to get me to go further, and no, I can't do it. The hamstrings aren't limited function. The hamstrings aren't limited structurally. They're functionally limited, and the functional limitation is a sensory. Okay?